Hello everyone, my name is DJ Self, aka Ordinary Anomaly, and this video is one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life, I think. It actually feels very surreal and dreamlike to finally be doing this, but about a month ago I started feeling like I was hitting a breaking point, and now after a little more procrastination and avoidance, here I finally am at this strange existential vista point. So a little about myself before I get to the main topic. I'm currently 23. I am a singer-songwriter. I would say that music is largely the reason I'm alive, or one of the reasons. But at the time of this vlog, I've never actually officially produced any of my songs, acoustic or studio. For years, I've procrastinated, just falling further into denial and feeling like it will never actually happen. This video acknowledges the things that have been stopping me. I'm making this video to talk about my life journey the last couple of years and talk about the drastic changes that have taken place in my worldview. I used to be a very stable and happy person, but in a short time I've come to see the world as stark and almost lifeless, which is especially a nightmare for someone who identifies themselves as an artist. I'm not going to make these often, but I thought it would be a good idea to talk about this in the form of a vlog because, frankly, I feel like these are things that a lot of people shy away from or feel anxious about, and it only makes it harder for people who are already in the thick of it, and it even makes it easier for people to fall into it. And a lot of people just don't really know how to talk about it. So yeah, to tell you how much change I've gone through, I'm going to start at the beginning. I was raised in a Protestant Christian home. I believed in heaven and hell, and that through Jesus' death on the cross, I had been rescued from hell and given an eternal afterlife. I had extremely strong faith. At the age of 8, I believed that God spoke to me and that I was to become a missionary later in life and live out my years ministering in Egypt. My first songs that contained lyrics and vocals were Christian. I was very passionate about my faith. It was not until 2016, at the age of 19, that I began to question the role that religion played in my life, though I stopped writing Christian songs in 2013. The ultimate collapse took place after a church service in December of 2016. I realized that I could not believe in hell without feeling like I was lying to myself, because I just could not rationally support it. And so this rendered Jesus' death inconsequential to me, as there was no longer any hell from which I needed saving from. Consequently, I became agnostic and started an unprecedented spiral into existentialism. I stopped praying, I stopped believing in the Bible, I stopped seeing everything as a creation of its God. I started seeing Jesus as an inspired but confused person who struggled to distinguish between the physical and the abstract. This was one of the hardest things I've ever faced in my life, especially because there was no longer an imaginary net keeping me safe from my mortality, causing me to fall progressively further into thanatophobia, or the fear of death. Now, there's actually different types of thanatophobia because people fear death for different reasons, but I fear death because I fear that it's just eternally oblivion after we die, and just nothingness. And I know we're getting into some deep stuff now, but I feel like the only reason I fear oblivion is because there isn't much else that I could imagine there to be. Like, death is unimaginable, but we can imagine opposites. The opposite of uncertainty is information. The opposite of consciousness appears to be oblivion. Some people think that that's a silly thing to be afraid of because they're nihilists and they believe that oblivion is natural and that consciousness itself is meaningless. To me, though, there's no logic in nihilism, because nihilists believe that consciousness is just pure coincidence, basically, and that just doesn't make sense to me. So this started me on a long trail down existentialism, and over time, my existentialism drove me to become more and more curious about just the nature of reality. So fast forward 2 terrible years to 2019. In January, at the age of 21, I finally got some sort of a sense of direction. One night I had a unique experience, and for the first time, I really fully recognized and acknowledged my own consciousness, and my life felt like a movie on a screen. I started noticing how my mind placed significance on random information and the presence of my inner monologue, always narrating all of my thoughts, and I had accidentally discovered mindfulness, and this continued to happen from this point forward. This made me want to see the world as clearly as possible, without the influence of my own opinions. In philosophy, this is called objectivity. For a time, I felt like my appreciation of the world grew, and because I accepted the world exactly as it appeared, I began to feel like it was perfect. But then I gained a new interest, something that nowadays most people's interest can't avoid: politics and the negative effect that it has on society. Now, I would personally never consider getting directly involved in politics, but because I care about people, I do feel obligated to involve myself indirectly, namely by using my art to emphasize the things that I care about, including what I think needs to change. And I also believe that art is a great way to express yourself. And my true obligation as an artist comes from simply the urge to inspire others to feel and act. So why in all of these years have I never shared my art with the world? Back in 2015, after a long bout of loneliness, I began to experience depression. And this caused me to feel worthless, doubt that things would get better, and never have very much motivation. After my existentialism was added to that, I became more careless and slowly became more hopeless. Thankfully, I never once turned to substance abuse or anything like that, but my soul was starting to die. Although I never stopped writing songs since I found it therapeutic, I never had the urge to share them with the world because I was always instantly covered in doubt. As time went on, I began to focus more and more on the sheer pointlessness of my existence, on the existence of the whole species, like an alarm blaring in my face every moment I was awake. I started to feel like there wasn't any meaning to our lives. I rarely played my guitar or sang. I would go to work my shift, and go home, and all while thinking of how little I mattered. How little every action I made mattered. I had thoughts like, it's so easy to see the world without me in it. And during this time, I also started to experience severe OCD, which I had never realized I had before, and subsequently developed a specific type of OCD called existential OCD. I've since become familiar with the term rumination, as it's something I deal with constantly. Ruminating is just your brain compulsively repeating the same negative or worrying thoughts. And it's always something you're struggling to do something about, whether it's take action or choose to ease your own mind. And just to mention, if you're someone who deals with this, the advice that I created for myself is action defeats rumination, because it's true. Even if all you're doing is putting your thoughts down on paper so you can get them organized and then make progress, just doing something will break the rumination. So as my depression and OCD grew, I began to fall into fear like I had never experienced before. My rumination started to revolve around a single topic: my own death. And with that came anxiety, so much anxiety. And I had heard of it before, but I had never felt it. And so, after about 9 months of experiencing it, it became debilitating. I started having nervous breakdowns at work, having thoughts like my life is a waste, and eventually I have to die, and I would just focus on that. And I'll likely struggle with thoughts like that at points throughout my life. But I continued to search for answers. In October 2019, I had a realization about reality that added a new layer to all of my problems and changed everything forever. And it is best summarized as this: significance is subjective. Now, I know that's a strange fact to point out, but I personally find it significant for a few reasons. I feel like I thought of significance as being objective when I was younger, but actually we living things are the only things that can place significance on anything. This means there's an important difference between what is significant and simply that which is true. This also means that significance is a testament to our nature and the complexity of our intelligence. This realization left me feeling like I had more clarity about what I wanted to do with my life, and it also left me feeling like I was living in an aimless void because I started to see life as inherently bad due to a lack of inherent meaning. Like the meaning isn't obvious a lot of the time. But seeing life as bad due to that, I felt like this view was wrong. I felt like I was seeing the world through a crooked lens. So now, in 2020, my depression took a strictly existential turn. Been having questions like, how can consciousness exist if death is just oblivion? How can anything be meaningful if meaning is temporary? And I've been dealing with depersonalization and derealization. Sometimes my feelings feel just forced. Sometimes I feel like reality is nothing more than a blank canvas upon which objects appear and disappear. I imagine things that make reality seem fake. I have intrusive, nihilistic thoughts. A new alarm clock is blaring, and it's death. I've already turned 23. When was I 19? When did I start smoking weed? I realized that if I truly want to do something with my life, it's now or never. I have to open the doors that I've been staying closed to. Approaching my 23rd birthday, I knew I was entering a new season, a season of ultimatum. I had a choice to make. I've always been a very hopeful person, and it's something that I cling on to. I cling on to hope very tightly. And I've always been focused on possibility, since I've always felt like we seize very little of it because we struggle to perceive good things. This world is full of things that objectively benefit us because they have nurture, but so often we fail to recognize them because our heads are so clouded. We are surrounded by possibility, and we can see so much more of it if only we remember to perceive good things. Of course, at the end of the day, compassion is what truly drives me. I know that I care about the world, and I couldn't reject that if I tried. So I'm choosing to take courage, accept the uncertainty, and serve whatever purpose I might have. And it feels a lot like I'm walking on a tightrope and just reminding myself again and again, don't look down, don't look down. But I know I can still see the other side. It's just a matter of taking that next step. So, ideally, I would stop being nervous and start recording my stuff and pursuing the other goals in my life, like creating games, creating films, a lot of things I want to do. I know that acceptance doesn't happen overnight, and that I have to create meaning in my life before I can experience meaning in my life. So it's a process. Right now, I feel like I could never possibly be fulfilled by this life on this planet, but I have to recognize that I can do something about that, and I haven't even tried to yet. So, in conclusion, if you can relate with anything I just said, I hope that any of that was helpful, whether it was just hearing someone put that into words or just knowing that you're not the only one dealing with this kind of stuff. Fear is a crazy thing, and being alive is a crazy thing, but so long as you have a choice, sinking into denial and just refusing to acknowledge your thoughts instead of moving forward is the worst choice that you can make. It's a waste of something good. Do I know exactly what I'm doing? Absolutely not. No. But at least I'm doing something instead of nothing. Thanks for listening to my thoughts, and if you're interested, you can expect to see something new from me in the very near future. Take care.